Hey friends, welcome back to the Happy Homeowner Podcast, Outdoor Edition. My name is Dan Keller, and I believe that owning a home is the largest and most valuable asset we have, second to our time. As a veteran mortgage professional, investor, and Puget Sound angler, my commitment is to bring you content each week that will fill each one of these buckets in your life. Jump on board with us today, enjoy the show, and we'll see you back in the marina. Hey, welcome back to the outdoor edition of the Happy Homeowner Podcast. This is going to be fun today because this is a fishery that I started salmon fishing at years ago with my son and with my dad. And Connor, last year we had John Martinis with John Sporting Goods coming in, and you guys did a great bubble podcast. This year, we've got my friend, an incredible fishing guide out in the Puget Sound and in the rivers, Ben Rosenbach. And I'll tell you what, I can't share some of these photos with you guys because you won't believe them. But Ben has shot me some photos from taking clients out there and fishing with some buddies of some bubble kings that would absolutely blow your mind. So I couldn't think of a better person to come in and kind of do Bubble 2.0
absolutely
than with our friend Ben Rosenbach with Mixed Metals Outdoor. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and speaking of the bubble, so let's just chat about this weekend. So today it's Memorial Day, Monday, Memorial Day. At this time right now, the bubble's closed, right? It's 12:30, so it's closed today now. Yep. But you were out this weekend. Give us a recap of what you saw with your clients.
You know, for as early as it is, there's actually quite a few fish caught.
Yeah.
All three trips we caught fish, had multiple opportunities. Saturday morning, there's quite a few guys out. There was a lot of boats, which is good, to see everybody getting out. But for as early as it is, it was nice to see that many fish caught. Not one point did you ever feel like we're out here just treading water. Mm-hmm. Nice fish, whether they're bubble fish or Snohomish fish, is yet to be told. But, a lot of bait, a lot of adult fish around. Didn't catch very many shakers at all.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was nice.
Your clients got into some fish, so that's great. Speaking of bait, which will kind of tee up some of the gear you guys are going to talk about today. Did you get a glimpse of size of bait and how it looked out there?
The bait I seen was little, which is kind of funny because I had another friend call me just before we got in here, and he's like, dude, we were trolling the bubble this morning, and we caught a 11-inch horse herring. Like,
oh, jeez.
All the fish I cleaned all had herring in that 3 to 4 inch range.
Wow.
The herring we seen popping around out there was smaller. In around the red can, there's pretty, that incoming tide, the candlefish pile up in there in the corner pretty good. They were there. I mean, it was typical bubble stuff. I didn't run a spoon any bigger than 3 inches.
Yeah.
Just kind of what started getting bit, kind of what we stuck with.
Very nice.
Yeah, well, so we'll kind of jump back to last year when we had John. John was this tried and true, right? His standard, what's his go-to,
3.0
Connor?
3.0 cookies and
3.0
cream.
cookies and cream, right? With a green flash or green and orange flash or a blinky.
Yep.
And I seen John out there. They got a fish.
Yeah.
He had Dave Miller from the Sportsman's Club here in town, and, they were... It was pouring rain, so I was jealous because they were hiding in the cabin. And I watched them get a nice fish too.
Good.
So,
the
tried and true came through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For being the opener, man, I was at the shop. I had to work, but for being an opener for the bubble, I was pretty surprised the amount of people that were coming in telling me that they hooked fish.
Stories.
It seemed rather pretty good for the bubble's sake at this early in the ball game. Fish is good when we get in the middle of July and middle of June to the beginning of July is really the prime time there. So to hear fish being caught this early like it is, that's positive for sure.
And it did seem like there was a little bit of an opening day mop up. Friday morning was better than Saturday morning.
Okay.
Saturday afternoon, there's only a dozen boats, but I think I only knew of 5 or 6 fish that caught in the afternoon, but it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yep.
There was still fish there. We're still marking fish. They'd just been bombarded for 2 days straight and hadn't seen a boat, since they'd been there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, all the big dumb ones get caught first.
Yeah.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah, my favorite.
They all taste the same.
So one of the things I love about you, Ben, and you've always been so kind and so good to me, over the years, is just, teaching me what you're doing. And you got guys out on your boat. So why don't you run us through real quick? And I know you got some gear here too, Connor, of things that you've used in the past, things that you heard guys were catching fish on this weekend. We'll go over that. But what worked really well for you this weekend, Ben?
Like I was telling you earlier, the Skinny G, actually, which is something I don't fish a lot. It actually got put down just out of curiosity Saturday morning.
That guy right there.
Yeah. And it started getting bit, so naturally I just stuck with it.
Absolutely.
I'm a hearing aid guy. I'm a big coyote guy, believe it or not. The old coyote spoons.
Now they're a little thicker, right?
Have a
Are those a little bit wider spoons?
They're
typically?
a little bit wider, a little bit thinner. I like them because I can shape them.
Got it.
I can, bend them all 8 different directions and just keep tweaking it until it starts getting bit. I was running roughly a 42-inch leader length right about my belly button is where I was cutting my leaders.
Okay.
That's one of the first things I start messing around with.
Yeah.
If we're not getting bit, I'm marking fish, seeing bait, whatever it is, and we're not getting bit, I start messing around with leader length.
Definitely.
And trolling speed.
So let's do something here real quick. And this is a bonus. I don't know a lot of anglers that would actually do this on maybe TV or anything, but let's do this. And then what we'll do is we'll auction off this spoon down at John's.
Yeah.
But what I'd love for you guys to do, when you guys talk about altering your spoons or adding a little extra bend, because you guys have taught me this, and I did this last summer with the Skinny G, and I swear to God, you've seen that Skinny G. That thing doesn't have any paint left on it. It got eaten so much, whether it be in the San Juans to out in 9 or down at Elliott Bay. But let's walk them through how you add a little bit of extra action by bending. And that's the good thing about these Skinny Gs. You can actually do that.
Yeah, you can bend these pretty well. Everybody has their own flavor on how they want to bend these. This is how I do it. I do these with the Skinny Gs, and I'll do them with the Gold Stars too. We do have the West Coast fishing spoons. These ones are stainless, so they're a little tougher to bend. So you could definitely try it with those. I haven't used one yet. I did get reports of guys catching them with those this weekend at the Bubble, so maybe a great
and that's
spoon to
that's
use.
new gear down at the shop.
Yeah.
And you'll talk about that here in a minute. Their flashers and their gear. I really like their stuff.
Great. Now we all got to go buy another.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
47 spoons.
But first thing I do, so I'll take it. I'm going to take the back end, so the end closest to the hook.
Here, bring it down in your black with your black. There you go, right there with the black sweatshirt background.
Okay, so I'm going off the hook end first. I take the back end, and it's already bent kind of downward, but I'm going to bend it a little more. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to bend it just like that.
And you're using your left thumb underneath there, and it's going to be the contour of your thumb.
That's right. Yep. So you give that a little bend. You can see now it's got a little more of a bend to it. Now I'm going to follow up to the top end of the hook where I'm going to tie my leader to, and you can see it's already trying to bend up. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to bend it upward.
Just a little.
So you're kind of like making an S out of it, but not that dramatically, obviously. But I'm just kind of exaggerating the bends that were already in the spoon. And you're going to have it like this.
Yeah, and that's going to be a good one. This is, if you can show that up, raise it up a little higher where the black TV is in the back.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. See how you got a little bend there.
Got a bend to it there.
And what does that do in the water, you guys?
I think it catches water more. It'll flicker your spoon a little bit more. It'll kind of cause some hesitations and some different pulls. And that's what I'm trying to emulate.
Spaz out a little.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah.
There's a definite feel to it.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be careful. If you're going to be trolling at high speeds, you don't want to bend them too much because it's going to cause the spoon to just sit there and spin. And you don't want that. You don't want to lose that kind of skip bead action. Slower speeds, bend them more. Faster speeds, bend them less, and then put them in the water. Next to the boat and watch them to make sure it's not just sitting there spinning in a circle. You almost want that spoon to stop once in a while. It'll twitch, and a little, as it goes and dart around a little bit. So go ahead and play with them. Find an old one. You know, you don't have to grab brand new spoons out of the package.
Yeah.
Just take one out and start bending and play with it. I actually will take mine sometimes and put a little twist to it too.
That's what I did last summer.
Especially if I'm under 2.3 to 2.0, 1.8. If you're trolling that slow, that little twist sometimes it'll give it an extra little. You know, you've got the bubble is a small area. In comparison to the rest of our fisheries, and you get 100, 150 boats in there, that's 400. If you got 3 rods a boat, that's 450 rods.
Yeah,
dragging the same spoons and flashers around. Find something to set yourself apart. You know, I think I counted 80 boats Saturday morning. Wow. You know, and we're not even into June, let alone July when crabbing's open, right? Everybody loves to drop crab pots and, on Mission Bar on their way to the bubble. I mean, it's a perfect summer day, right? It's tailor-made for it. So find that little something that'll set yourself apart.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So then let's wrap on spoons real quick. I see a couple of skinny G's. I see a lot of greens, so a lot of herring aid, and then we've got just your traditional. I know John likes that color, but that's
just your skinny G and a cookies and cream. That's an excellent color. Now, we were talking about this earlier. These herring aids I'm running, you got me onto these, Dan. It has that nickel back on it. It doesn't have the glow back. And for some reason, I couldn't tell you why, but these ones just run a little bit better than the ones with the glow backs. So keep that in mind when you're buying these. Yeah, skinny G's. We have the Gold Star spoons, the 3.0 herring aid. That's a great color. We have this is a 3.5 inch
those are bigger.
Cookies and cream. And, the bait being the size it is, you can probably get away with the 3 inch or 3.5 inch spoon. Gold Star spoons are really easy to bend, so you can really kind of tweak them and make them kind of how you want.
I just think these skinny G's represent bait so accurately. That's what I love about them, and it's kind of like you can get away with the smaller profile, and then it's almost like that medium setting, right? That can kind of work either way.
I think it resembles a candlefish and a small herring really well.
I
mean, absolutely. Yeah.
Any hoochies out there, or ace? I know a bunch of guys that fish ace high flies out there.
I ran one for a couple hours this weekend. It didn't get bit, but it's not saying
it won't work.
It won't work. We catch a lot of fish on those ace high flies and the hoochies out there. One thing nice about getting bit on a hoochie.
2 hooks, baby.
2 hooks, and you lose fish on spoons. It's just how it is.
It's nature.
So you always feel a little bit better when the hoochie rod goes off.
Yeah.
Back to that silverback, whiteback thing.
Yeah.
So not only just with the way the spoon flops, but one thing that I've been trying to key in on is when what works, right? When and what makes it work. And it seems like this weekend, Saturday morning, it's pouring down rain, it's cloudy, weather system's coming through. Little bit darker conditions, that whiteback spoon fished better than my silverback spoons, or vice versa. On the sunny days, you want that metal down there flickering and flashing,
Absolutely.
And again, that's another little thing that will set you apart from the other boats in the area.
That's why we have a fishing guide out here, because you make your living off of putting fish in boats. If your boat isn't full of fish when you're done, people aren't calling back next year. No, I appreciate you sharing that, and that's a big tip too. And it's something you could use, again, out in the other regions of the Puget Sound too.
Absolutely.
No, that's smart, man.
That's just 101 right there.
What about, so if you were running an ace high or a hoochie, same colors, what do you prefer out there? I see, again, more green.
Yeah, green spatter's a great one. You could use your same coho hoochie, that OAL 12R, that UV. Maybe on a sunnier day, I'd run that. These are glow, these green spatters. So you're going to, benefit on maybe a little bit darker day. The ace high flies, same green spatters. The chartreuse spatter's a good one, and stuff like that. Even that white, that 312 ace high fly that we use for coho, that'd be an excellent choice for sure.
Apple core.
Yep. And then you're throwing a little herring strip on there, or just scent? Yeah.
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Okay.
That's more a coho thing for me.
Okay.
Like I said, it's preference.
Pretty much anytime I'm running a squid or an ace high fly, there's a strip of herring.
You are throwing. Okay, so you're not. Now scent. Let's go into scent and we'll move on.
Yeah.
throwing any kind of sense on those out there, Ben?
The hoochies I do, and the spoons.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing you got to be careful with the spoons when you scent them is smearing it on the spoon.
Okay.
Like say this silverback spoon, you take that scent and smear it all over the back of it. You're taking away all your flash.
Yeah.
I'll take that scent and put it just down here at the last 1/4 inch of it, and with the oils, you can just drip it on there. With the gels, you need to take your finger and kind of rub it on, because if you just gloop it on there, it'll wash right off.
Okay.
Same thing, I'll put it on both sides, just down at the very bottom of it.
Yep.
And then once in a while, I'll put it on the flasher too, but same thing.
Okay.
Just very down in the bottom of it. You know, they smell in parts per billion.
Okay.
It doesn't take a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
My opinion. It's more to hide my scent from them than anything.
Okay.
So, but it does make a difference.
Okay.
The herring scent.
Yep.
With the amount of prawns and shrimp out there right now, are you throwing any shrimp scent on there? No.
I don't.
No? Okay.
You're trying to match herring, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they
Okay.
were full of shrimp, I would definitely consider that. And then I'd be moving to like an orange stripe on my spoon.
Yeah, we did that last summer up in the San Juans. We caught our first salmon on that skinny G, and we always try to just rip it open real quick, see what's in there. It was full of shrimp and squid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so I had some pink shrimp, scent. So we threw that on the hoochie,
Oh, yeah.
and a couple minutes later, that other side went off.
absolutely.
Call it luck, call it whatever. But no, so I was just wondering out there at the bubble. But when you were cutting open your fish, just all small,
It's all herring.
small
Yep,
candlefish
all
size.
herring.
Okay. Cool.
One of the fish had a couple candlefish in it, but it was still pretty much
Small herring.
dominated. Yeah.
Okay.
Brings up another point. Running bait there.
Yeah.
Running little red label herring
Yeah.
or,
Okay.
or little anchovies.
Yep.
That would absolutely be on
Yep.
the radar for me.
Okay.
Definitely.
First bubble king I ever caught was in 1996.
Okay.
Year after I was born.
Yeah. And that's all we used to do is just
Yep.
drag herring and banana lead. you know.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd put a herring behind a flasher, or if
Yeah.
the fishing's good enough, so you can take the flasher away for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd put it 5-6 feet behind a flasher and drag
Yeah.
that too. A little anchovy, man.
Yeah.
Those are nice because it's a skinny profile,
Yeah.
so it kind of can almost blend as a bigger candle fish, and then
Okay.
you're matching that smaller herring.
Okay. I love that. Okay. Now, as we wrap on terminal gear, leader length. So leader length, I think you mentioned, Ben, about 42 on your spoons.
Yeah.
You doing the same with?
It's a good starting point.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Right? I mean that's halfway between short and long. And
Okay.
you're not getting bit. Start adjusting. Sometimes I'll run those things 6 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Behind the flasher. Sometimes we'll shorten them up to 30 inches.
Yeah.
The hoochies definitely shorten it up.
Yeah.
Same thing as coho fishing. You
Okay.
know, you all your action in that hoochie's coming from the flasher.
Okay.
So,
So I see you brought some Seagar,
Oh, yeah.
Seagar 30.
Yep.
Is that what you're using both for hoochies and for?
That's what I like to use.
30?
Yeah, you can
I'm
do
running that same stuff.
Yep, 30
Okay,
pound.
good.
You can
Either
go 30
or.
to 40, but we've had really good luck with 30 pound. And yeah, that Seagar, it comes in 100-yard chunks, so you get a little more, and it's really good line. Yeah,
That's
really,
so funny.
really good.
Guys, I was sitting at the dock last summer up in Hudson, and I stay at West Beach Resorts in the summer, the backside of Orcas, always for the 7 opener, the San Juan opener, and sitting there, and we'd gotten back like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and we got our fish. It was Hudson, my dad, and a buddy, but it was rough. A lot of friends that I knew were up there were done by like 10, and sitting back there at the dock and cleaning up, and this guy pulls in, and like this 18-foot Hughes, old timer, and we're just shooting the breeze with him, talking, and he's like, I've been up here for 60 years. He goes, where are you from? And, getting through everything, and he was like, I said, is there any tips? I always try to ask. The old timers got wisdom, right?
Got wisdom.
I go, you got any tips for us city folk? And he goes, listen, I go, I've ran the same thing up here for 50 years, and I always catch my fish. And same thing, he uses up there a bigger spoon and just a regular size hoochie, right? And he goes, I run long leaders,
Yeah.
6-foot leaders.
Sure.
And he goes, what? I was like, whoa, I was doing like 40-inch.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you never know. So you mentioned that longer leader. When in doubt, you never know, man.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. I did not run a longer leader the next day, and we did just fine. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, this company's a Canadian company, dude, and the guy I buy these from, James Fisher, he's a guide up there, and he was telling me 6 foot liters.
Same thing, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
6 foot liters with these. That's what they run.
So for the average fisherman, kind of like me, what would a longer leader behind a flasher do versus a shorter? Just a little less action, or would it actually let the
Less
spoon
action.
work?
Yeah.
It's less action.
Less.
You know,
Slower.
Chinook fishing, and you guys know this, you know, coho fishing, you can't put enough action in that gear. These big Chinook, you know, when we're up in the San Juans, you know, motor mooch and herring, we're barely moving. You know, they're a little bit bigger fish, a little slower metabolism to them.
Okay.
The longer you stretch that leader out, the less it's going to throw that bait around.
Okay.
And you got to remember that flasher is meant to look like another fish chasing bait. And the further behind it you get, the less intrusive that your flasher is to the the other fish in the area, you know. So they see a straggler back, oh, this guy just came through and he whacked that one on the head and it's over there, you know, swimming like it's got a broke leg, and it looks like easy prey to him. You know, Puget Sound, everywhere else you go, north end of the San Juans, Canada, Alaska, 42-inch leaders unheard of.
Oh, really?
You know, like you're just saying, it's all 5, 6, 7 feet. So,
Okay.
For whatever reason, Puget Sound, these, you know, the shorter leaders seem to get it done for us.
So if you ever get in a slump, start retying a longer leader. Maybe.
It's
You
something to
never
start
know.
with,
Worth a
you
try.
know, it's something to start with.
Yeah. It's either that or shotgun a beer. One or the two might work. All right, so moving on. Let's wrap up gear with flashers. I see, again, a lot of green here.
Yep, a lot of green. This is a new flasher by Pro Troll, which I used a little bit here for blackmouth. It's a they call it the Fatal Hornet. It's a chartreuse. It's got chartreuse moon jelly and then glow on the back. It's a lot similar to the Green Hornet. It's just a little lighter color. You're probably getting the same thing out of both of these, but they both work excellent for Chinook. And then this is one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
One of these, it's called the Morning Mist. It's a Pro Troll, just a white flasher. Do really well with that for Chinook and for coho. All of these work for coho too. They all have
this?
Yeah, it's one of their new flavors. But yeah, all work good for Chinook, especially what we're doing. And then I did bring a couple of the West Coast. Just a different. These are non-blinky, so you guys are get used to that. But this is a blue one. They make a black one. It's just this moon jelly is pretty cool. Underneath here is glow tape, so when you're looking at this in the dark, it glows. But if you have sunlight, it's going to reflect off that UV too. And then the blade's this chrome blue. It's just, you know, it reflects the sun really well. And yeah, it's another great option. They make a green one too. I didn't have any, but the green one.
I ordered the green one online.
I know the green one caught fish this weekend.
Okay.
So there's something to them. They work pretty well.
I haven't used them yet, but they look really good. I love the powder coating aspect of it. So cool. And you're carrying that now at John's. It's brand new.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Got those.
Right on, you guys. Okay, let's talk about some regulations, just so people know when. The bubble is a little bit quirky in regards to when you can fish it.
You got days of the week you can fish it. It's open Friday through Monday, and Monday you can fish it till noon, so we're past that now today. Just an FYI for all you guys, this Saturday is June 1st, and it is closed for the tribal ceremonial fishing, so don't get caught out there on Saturday. You're not. It's frowned upon. But your daily limit is 2 fish there. It just says 2 salmon, so I guess if you caught a coho, you could keep that as well. I don't think the likelihood of that's going to be very great, but it says 2 salmon, and you keep either or. You can keep wild or hatchery fish.
Wow.
And then another cool thing, the 2-pull endorsement. You can use your 2-pull endorsement at the bubble. So those are kind of your basic rules there. They have in the game pamphlet, they have the little rectangle where you can fish in the longitude and latitude. So look at that. So you're inside the boundary. But you know, generally when we're there, I like to fish 90 to 120 feet. Not saying you can't go out into 200 feet of water. Guys get them out there all the time. I focus on that structure and that 90 to 120.
And they get them when they're going deeper. They're getting them suspended. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're fishing 60 and 90 feet on the down.
You're finding them.
Pretty typical.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That early morning fishery, that's usually what we're doing, 60 and 90 feet on the downrigger. Not necessarily bouncing the bottom there.
Okay. I heard you and Ben talking about this, and this is a hack. This is if you're going to go out there and fish, it's good to know this. But when to fish the bubble. It's definitely, and John talked about this a year ago too. It's definitely a tide dependent fishery, but when you fish it and the tide is important. So let's talk about that, number one. And then number two, Ben, you mentioned you were out there the other night in the evening, which is also great to know because a lot of people think of Chinook, it's a morning bite and morning tide bite and you're done. So, and I've caught some nice fish out there in the evenings actually as well. So
I'd bet over the last 10 years, half our fish have come in the evenings.
There you go.
You know, it is tide dependent as to where the fish are.
Okay.
Right. It's not like fish in possession or mid-channel or something where you have fish that, I mean, you have traveling fish, right? The mouth of the Snohomish is right there. And you're going to, half the fish that get caught out there are Snohomish fish, whether Fish and Game likes it or not, they are. But we're out there theoretically targeting Tulalip bubble kings. They're home.
Yeah.
Right. And depending on water levels in the bay, how big of a tide, and what time in the tide, it basically determines on where the fish are going to be. Mm-hmm. Right. So I always try to explain it kind of like dumping out a toy box, right? The tide goes out, all the toys get dumped out, and they wrap one corner or the other or go out into the deeper water. As the tide starts to wash back in, bait starts to wash back in, they start washing back up into the bay, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why they're suspended, right? They're just kind of sitting there, this and that, as the tide comes in and out. As the season goes on, you start to realize where they're going. I truly believe, 250 days a year, every fishery I go to, fish attract fish, right? So if you have a couple of fish that say on the outgoing are coming out and wrapping around Mission Head and coming back in, other fish are going to start to mimic that same behavior, and it kind of sets precedence for the season. It's not always like that. Yep. You get a new batch of fish come in every year. They're going to have different habits. And you can start if you just pay attention to what you're doing. Hey, I caught this fish 2 hours before the low tide at this place. If you start to see it happen a couple of times, pay attention to it.
There's a pattern.
There's a pattern there. And with staging fish, patterns are hard to recreate. So pay attention to what's going on. That suspended thing's a big deal. It really is. And, sometimes I'll chase those fish way up inside the bay, 45 feet of water.
Yeah.
We'll find them up in there. Sometimes they're out in 200 feet of water.
So would you say there's more tendencies then on a high tide or an outgoing that the fish would be up inside more than out because the tide is and the bait has brought them in? Okay. Yeah. So there's a rule of thumb, you guys. If you're going to go out there and you're going to fish, well, you were saying earlier, you like to try to get there an hour or so before the changing tide, fish through the tide change, and then about an hour or two after, right? So if you're fishing, an outgoing per se, maybe start in and work out. If you're fishing the flip, the opposite, start out, maybe work in, Okay.
Yeah, and then the tide's going to dictate. The other thing is where the bait is, and if you mark bait there with fish in it, there's no reason to go trolling all the way down the other end of the bubble. You want to stick on that bait until that 30-minute window when these fish are actively feeding and you're in them. Yeah, that's the main thing too.
So I see a lot of guys starting. It would be, I guess, down south by the red tin, right? Versus further north. What do you guys call the north part of the bubble?
Hermosa.
Hermosa. Yeah. So, is there any rhyme or reason as to where you start when you start? Is that tide dependent, or is it just kind of, hey, just get in there and get going?
That's part of figuring out that pattern. Right. I mean, some years on the outgoing, those fish will be up by Hermosa. On the incoming, they're down on the Mission side. So
got to find them.
Yeah, that's something that you kind of let the fishery dictate for you.
And that's another really good reason why you got a guy like Connor down at the shop every day. You and your employees are always fishing. You're always talking to fishermen, right? And so being able to pick Connor's brain and their staff, and even guys like Ben is a huge resource. So make sure when you come in and you get your gear, you just ask a couple questions, like that, and that'll help save you some time. And again, we do these podcasts for these guys, number one, to support their businesses, number two, to help you put more fish in your boat. And these guys are just full of a ton of tips. So
we do what we do because we like helping people catch fish.
Yeah.
Love taking people fishing, love talking about it. It's what we do all day, every day.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
Well, I think one of the really great things too about Ben and Mixed Metals Outdoors, your boat fishes really good in the bubble, a little bit unique. It's not a big fishing charter like you would see out in the Puget Sound. So what are you running? Let's talk about your guide service. What are you running? And do you have some openings for the bubble? I know you're coming into kind of you're coming in the summer. You got a lot of different fisheries. The river's opening up pretty soon. We're doing a podcast
Wednesday.
on that. Yep. And so talk to us about your business and some openings you might have if someone wants to book you.
So I'll be fishing the bubble all the way through July.
Oh, cool.
On a limited basis as, like I said, Wednesday, the river opens up for Chinook. I'll be up there at least through the 15th. I've got a couple of days left that aren't booked. I don't fish up there really any longer than the 15th just because we usually run out of water.
Okay.
And I don't want to take people for boat rides.
Yeah.
So after June 15th, I'll be back down here in the bubble,
Okay.
a little bit of Resi Coho stuff, maybe
yeah.
run down to the Cowlitz for a steelhead trip. Who knows, right?
Yep.
That's the fun part about June and July is we do have some opportunity. I know we all get all humbug about what fishing game's taken from us, but we still have some opportunity.
Yep.
Hey, don't look away on those Resi Cohos as well. You turned me on to those last year when I was bored, and you're like, dude, go out in front of your house. We live down in Richmond Beach. He was like, go out in front of your house and troll. We caught about 5 or 6 of those little guys. They eat like sockeyes.
Oh man,
dude, they're not huge.
Oh man, they're good.
Yeah, so we'll have to come back and do a and it's fun. It's fun and easy.
Downsize your gear.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're the big ones are 4 or 5 pounds,
Yeah.
but if you're fighting them on sockeye rods, man, it's a kick in the pants.
No, we had a blast.
Kick in the pants.
Yeah, that's an easy one. We'll come back and do a podcast on that one because it's so fun. But I will tell, if you're listening to this and whether you have a boat or you're learning how to fish, or you just want to get a group of guys together, get 3 or 4 of your buddies together and go out for an evening and pack some sandwiches and some drinks and have an incredible time with Ben. But one of the things that I did 15 years ago as an angler is I went out and hired guys like Ben, and there was a few other guys that I hired a dude up in the San Juans, a fishing guide up there, just to learn, right? Yep. These guys will teach you. Ben's not gonna be like, oh, you're gonna come here to learn from me. I'm not gonna show you. Ben's all about sharing his knowledge, and again, he cares more. He'll know that I'm going out fishing, and he'll check in with me to make sure I'm putting fish in my boat, and if I'm not, he'll give me some tips or some helpful advice. So I want to encourage you, reach out to this guy. What remind us again, what are you running out there? What boat?
24-foot Limeweld Super V.
Yeah.
It's an open boat. Reason being for that is I can fish more rods out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, like Saturday, like I said, we got wet.
Yep. Bring your rain gear.
But it's 60 degrees on the cold days now.
Yeah.
So
we're coming into the summer. It's such a perfect boat for fishing.
It's fine. But I can get more gear in the water. Without the cab on the boat. So that's why I do it. Let alone I'm in the river.
Yeah.
We're up there. I just took the lower unit off today, put the pump on, and Wednesday we're going to be up running in 6 inches of water for the same fish. Side drifting eggs and light line Chinook. It's a kick in the pants. Probably one of my favorite months of the year.
Yeah.
There's nothing like a good side drift and egg bite.
Oh man.
We actually did.
Awesome.
We did a show on that. You were on the American Dream TV show doing that 2-3 years ago with me and Hudson. It was just it's so fun. It light gear, big fish.
Yeah, that was a fun morning.
Connor
came up and on the scatter. You got a big native that day.
Yeah, we had to let one go.
Big
but
old native fish.
Oh, it's awesome.
But we killed a bunch of fish too.
Yeah.
I
think we got 6.
Yeah, they've got. Well, last time I looked, they had over 800 fish in the hatchery.
Nice. Very nice.
Well, I want you to look into reaching out to Ben if you want to get out there and you're looking for a fishing guide. He's one of the best there is, and just an all-around just great guy. You're going to have a great time. We do have a couple of your customers down at John's that have a couple quick questions. Todd Martin, one of our friends and customers, said, if you are going to run bait out at the bubble, flasher or no flasher, and what are your thoughts on the short bust triangle out there at the bubble?
So now I like how this guy thinks. So
Columbia River.
yeah, well, and we've done it out there a lot.
Okay.
They work.
Okay.
They flat out work. The 360 fishing with the spinners works. He's got the right mindset. You're staging Chinook just like we're doing down there on the Columbia. The bad part about the triangles and the 360s is all the crap in the water.
Okay.
Jellyfish, seaweed, grass, whatever it may be. For whatever reason, it wraps up really bad in those flashers. You know, you have all those barrel swivels and all that stuff to keep it from tangling. It's a lot of work to keep it clean. It works really good out there. Triangle flasher would be a little cleaner, but it works really good. We've done it a lot out there. But like I said, it's a lot of work to keep it clean.
Yeah.
Personally, I like the flasher in front of the bait.
Me too. I'm the same way.
Especially now, the water conditions out there, we've kind of got this algae bloom going right now.
Okay.
There's not a lot of visibility. It's not dirty by any means, but it's not your middle of July.
Yeah.
You can see the flasher 15 feet down.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot of bloom in the water right now, so I would definitely put that flasher out.
Yep. That answers another question that someone had. Is like, what's the difference between running a flasher with bait and no flasher with bait? So it's just clarity.
Yep.
Yeah, and then if you're into fish,
more action to your bait.
It swings them around a little.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. And then last one, gear, fishing rod, reel. What's your ideal? What's your go-to setup? I can tell you what you sold me, Hudson, last year, and he absolutely loves it. It fishes well out there off the downrigger, and it's light. But what are your guys' thoughts on rod and reel?
I use the same thing I use for the summer Chinook. And I use that. That's my saltwater salmon rod. It's a 9.5 foot, 15, or it's a 12 to 30 pound Pro Light. It's an excellent rod, and I pair it with a Dakota 400, and I put 40 pound braid, and then I put 100 feet of 20 pound mono on the end, so it holds in the clip. That works excellent for me.
I run a little bit longer. I'm a 10.5 foot guy.
Okay.
And for the front two rods, back two rods, I'm running 9.5 footers, 15 to 30 pound.
Okay.
The reels, I kind of got a mixed smorgasbord going on the boat. Yeah. The Dakotas, the 300s and the 400s are good. The cold waters are nice. The reason I have two different setups like that is, one, I go right to left a lot because you never know who's going to be in the boat, whether they can reel with right or left hand. And kids and women, no offense, ladies, have smaller hands.
Yeah.
Those cold waters are easier for them to handle and manipulate. It's just a little more comfortable for them. Those Dakotas have a big profile to them.
A little wider.
Little wider profile, and it just doesn't fit in their hands very nice. It's a little more comfortable for them, but both are great options.
Yeah.
I run a 60 pound braid just because my reels get swapped from coho to Chinook to down on the Columbia. That 60 pound braid, you get a little less tip wrap with it.
You're running a top shot with
I
those.
run a 40 pound bumper on it, 18 feet, 3 arm lengths, right? Just for popping in and out of the clip.
For sure.
Because that braid won't hold in the clips. And a little bit of stretch, a little bit of forgiveness when you're fighting
snubber.
fish.
Yep. Little shock absorber.
Usually once people are fighting fish and I'm scrambling and trying to get gear up, if I start seeing mono, I know I better be headed for the net.
Yeah. That's also good for a guide. Yeah. Connor, what do you think? We miss anything?
Gosh, no. Ben covered a lot. I think we got everything that we could think of.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you learned a few things. I know there was a couple of tips that was shared that we didn't talk about, and these are like insider tips from really great anglers and guides. So to thank these guys, do me a huge favor. It's really easy. Number one, you could go and book Ben at Mixed Metals Outdoors for just an unbelievable fishing experience. Number two, you can go down to John's and buy gear from them. You can pick their brains, but what you can really do if you're watching this online, or listening to it online, do us a huge favor. Go to their pages, John's Sporting Goods, just Google it. Go to Mixed Metals Outdoor, Google it, and leave them a review to thank them for sharing their wisdom. That helps a ton. Yeah, it helps guys like Ben. This is what Ben does full time. He does it for a living. And if you don't book him, but you got some value from this, go leave a review. It helps with the Google rankings. It helps other people that actually want to hire a guide find him a little easier. So I appreciate both of you guys. This was awesome.
Thanks,
Other than being out on the water fishing right now, I couldn't think of a better way to spend my Memorial Day with you two guys.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, you guys, and then we're going to come back this coming week with Ben again, talking about Chinook fishing on the rivers. So stay tuned for that podcast as well, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Bye for now.
Thank you.